Closed captioning for A Piece of the Woods was made possible by Shorter Log Home Supply, providing for the log builders for 20 years. Underwriting for A Piece of the Woods was brought to you by Tenonizer Technology, 25 years providing the log industry equipment and techniques to simplify perfection. Great Woods Cabinetry, providing custom cabinetry and more to the Twin Cities and now everywhere, from online to on-site. From Minnesota, an online resource for log enthusiasts. And Quality Manufacturing, building quality portable sawmills is in their reputation.
Stairway Log Handrail is just loaded with optical illusions. We're going to go back to a couple sections, 3 sections actually, we made for one house just a little while ago. It kind of stretched me to the limit, but hopefully we can make it look simple on today's A Piece of the Woods. Okay, this one could be a challenge. We'll start with all the numbers by getting angles. That's a constant. This one's 35 degrees. That's a very comfortable angle. That is a good angle for a stairway. 43 degrees. That's pretty steep for a stairway. Well, we've got loft, heading down one flight of steps to a landing with a step on the landing, down another flight of steps to a landing, and down another flight of steps. This one could stretch some abilities here. Let's pull the easy numbers first. Top flight of steps, we got center of one post to the center of the top post, we got 64 7/8. Now we're going to do all of this center of one post to the center of the next. That's the only way you can measure this stuff out. And we're going to be drilling all of the holes for the rail, or the holes that go into the post. We're going to be drilling those on site with the laser guided drill. We've got to run exact center of the post right here on this line. And we have to fit it right tight into this corner because this post has to match the post on the opposite side. Its counterpart over here. The exact center of this post is right on this corner. As you walk up to the steps, they have to look and appear and be a matched set on right hand and left hand. And we'll pull a number from that exact center down to the exact center of the bottom post. Oh, it's 60 inches. That's easy enough. Of course, there'll be a matched rail on the opposite side, 60 inches long also. Now this exact center of this, where this post is going to be, and it's going to tuck right into the corner, and you have to cut all of these angles. I got so many slopes and angles to work with here. But measuring from exact center, it'll work and it'll fit tight right in here. Next flight. Now this one's more of a challenge because there's so many angles to work with, but again, exact center. We'll measure a distance, mark the angle, tuck this thing tight right in here, and it'll all fit. It will. I'm sure it'll fit. I think it'll fit. We just pull a distance and an angle, mark it down, and go to the next one. There are so many cuts in this thing. In the center of this post, we have an entire 16 inches for a flat spot. This one's easy. Just measure from the wall coming out 5 inches to the center of the first post, make a mark there, pull it down to the center of the post at the corner, and we have 33 and a half inches. We have one easy section of rail in this whole thing.
14 inches to the point here. Another transition point is at 6 inches. And I'll be taking out this corner right here, which would be this one right here, taking this corner out, come up 6 inches to the one transition point, and 14 inches to the second.
This doesn't glue back together very easily. You get a one-cut chance at it to get it to work. Now we just take all these numbers, go back to the shop, and yeah, we'll make it all right there. Well, we're back at the shop and we're going to take our two peculiar posts and make the cuts on them. We're going to start with working with the exact center line of the part, and we'll put our block on the end here. This is, we have a screw right exactly in the center, and we'll put that in at the center here and then keep positioning it. Okay, these are the lines that we drew on it back at the house, and we'll get this pretty close to square, and then we'll put the second screw in the top so our top block will be fixed permanent. And we'll sand a little bump off the end here. And put our reference marks on here. What do we got? We will work off of these marks here as we rotate the block on the bottom so we can make the cuts with the radial arm saw for this. All right, we've got the saw set at 40 degrees. We can work our way up the post to our exact 6 inches up, and this mark is directly above the exact center of the workpiece, and that'll make our first cut. We're making this cut with a radial arm saw with a 12-inch dado blade in it, and we're just ending up perfectly flat as we work our way across. And then we'll enter the second time from right here at 90 degrees. Still 6 inches up at 90 degrees. All right, now we'll check and see how actually flat we are as this little spot that I'm truing up here. And we'll put just a piece of plywood on top of there and then look at the spacing underneath of it to see how close we are. That's pretty good. We have a little bit to take out up here, and we're very close to this cut. That's our first 6 inches up the post. Now we'll get the next notches on there. Whenever you're building a house, there's certain guidelines that they follow for water usage. You've got so many bedrooms, so many bathrooms, requires so much water, a certain size septic system. Okay, a similar thing is true in the forest. You have so many trees. They're competing all the time for the amount of water that's available, the amount of sunlight that's available. If you don't get enough sunlight, then they starve out from sunlight. They're susceptible then to disease, certain kind of bugs and things. If they don't get enough water, they're susceptible to little beetles that come and can live in the tree when the moisture content is too low. Then they can die. You might lose a whole stand of trees that looks really beautiful one year, and they starve out for water, they starve out for sunlight. You gotta thin the trees out. You have to maintain them. The forest behind us has the potential of being excellent, as long as it's maintained.
Into the Woods was underwritten by Quality Manufacturing.
We are going to make one cut here at 35 degrees, just coming out to our point that's 14 inches up and 35 degrees, and that will be our locating spot, finished mark for one cut. And then we're going to cut the rest of it out with a chainsaw. Got our straight edge here from end to end, working with the exact center of the workpiece. Now we have, since this is putting oil on the bar, we don't want oil splatters on our wood, so we've got a piece of an old shirt that we're covering the log up here. Is we'll make this cut in there, and then we'll drop the other one in right above it. This cut, bring it right down to the line here with the little 4.5 inch disc on the little side grinder here. Okay. I'm going to put this little mark right here, this pencil mark, so if it'll keep me from sanding too far. I'll just watch this, and if I start sanding away my mark, then I know that I'm in my finished cut, and I'll back off a little bit. Here we are on our second post. This one's a little bit trickier. We've got this step on landing. We're going to take that notch out of here. We're going to do this one second. We'll bring this line up and we'll cut this notch out here. We're going to do this one with a chainsaw again here. So we can do that. With our stairway handrail, we're going to go with a 3.5 inch long tenon, and the hole we're drilling is a 2 5/8, but we're going to cut the tenon so it's about 20 thousandths undersize. Now I know that the table saw model tenon cutter will do this just fine, but we're going to use one of the bigger machines on this one. Okay, because of the angle that we're working at, we want to still end up with a 6-inch distance center to center on the spindles, but because of the angle, we're going to have to do the layout at somewhere as close to 8 inches to end up with this 6-inch center to center. And also, taking that into account also, on our blocks here, we're going to leave an extra inch sticking off the end of our blocks here. So we've got really close to 3 inches to make up for the thickness of the post and our spacing to be equal from post to post and between each spindle. So what we end up with, we're going to go with a spacing of 7 7/8 and do the layout right there to make our handrail work. Okay, come on over here and look at this. You have to get a good look here. Because we're working at an angle, and because the log is irregular, there's no way to mark the log on the outside of the log to know where in the world you are for drilling holes. So we've got this drill press set up so that our pivot point is the center of our pivot point is the same height off the table as the center of our material, the exact center, our center line design. Okay, the exact center of the material, same height as the pivot point, and that makes our drill travel. It bisects the exact center of the material at the same place regardless of the angle. That allows us to use this tape measure on the back. So our layout, our 7 7/8 center to center on the spindles, we're going to follow the tape measure to get that hole drilled exactly precise on both rails. Let's go see how it fits, huh? Ah, look at that. Don't you just love it when it all works? Okay, we just got our first post mounted, and now we're going to drill the bolt holes for our leg bolts going in to support this second post. We've got a few different drills that we use to put a 1/4 inch hole first. Then we run a 1 inch hole saw to cut a clean cut for our bolt head and washer. And clean it out with the Milwaukee. This has a little follower on it to follow that 1/4 inch hole there. And then since we've got a 3/8 leg bolt, we'll drill the first portion out through the post with a 3/8 hole. And a washer with our 3/8 by 6 inch bolt. There, now that is some kind of solid. We try and get at least 3 and sometimes 4 bolts per post, depending upon where they're going. It's like Lincoln logs for big guys, you know? Hold still. We got 3/8 to go here. Now when we are assembling rail sections on the job or back of the shop, and where we need to use the mallet, then that's sort of this carpet pad works out really well. We usually find a knot and then set the carpet pad over a knot and then hit it there. And that'll absorb the impact that would damage the wood, but still applies enough force to drive it together good. Of course, we have a habit of making things a little bit snug. There, look at that. Isn't that nice? Just closes up against there. Now we've used the centerline design, of course, for doing all the drilling for all the holes, as we were talking about back in the shop. So that makes that each top and bottom rails for both sides of our stairway here are interchangeable. But we've chosen the chubbier rail for the bottom, and we'll go with a straighter, lighter rail on the top. And we'll check this, see that it all fits before we put our spindles in here into our final assembly. And that looks like everything is fitting very well. Okay, we put our strap on here to help snug it up a little bit. We'll pull a little pressure on it, shoot the bolts in it, and then we'll put a couple of pins, finishing nails that will shoot right in here to hold this joint together here, and also the one at the top there, so there's no future movement to it. There. Next, we'll position the spindles so they're even top and bottom, all nice and balanced. And then come with a nailer, and we'll put one little pin in the top, kind of pointed up so you can't see the nail head, one on each side to lock that in place so no little kids come along later and mess around with it. Handrail here is 25 inches center to center. So I've marked coming up 5 inches for the bottom hole, another 25 for the top hole, and I've got corresponding marks on the post right above me here. Now the challenge is getting the hole drilled into this post, straight into this post, and it's matching at the top there straight into that post, so when we fit the rail in between, that everything is precisely perfect. So we cheat. We got this laser guided drill, and we'll start the hole here. See the little laser dot up there? There we go. The laser is directly in line, shoots directly in line with the drill bit. So we'll drill this 1/2 inch pilot hole and then follow it with 2 more bits to drill out to the 2 9/16 hole. But the bottom hole will be perfectly in line with the top hole. Now if we started drilling this hole with the flat bottom boring bit, it'd come around and sweep up here and bust out just a big chunk. So we're using this hole saw to start the hole, and it's got a 1/2 inch follower that will follow this, the pilot shaft that we put in there, the pilot hole that we put in. Now we've got to get a cut all the way around here to start the hole, at least 1/4 inch deep, and our hole saw wasn't quite long enough to reach in there, so we're going to take a little bit off here with a chisel and then we'll run the hole saw up here again.
It's a 2 9/16 bit, but this threaded leaf has been brazed into the end of the bit here. It's a 1/2-inch hole that we drilled in there, but these threads are 9/16 diameter, so it grips and pulls it in there to the cut. While this, the entire unit guides it so it's perfectly straight to the hole we drilled.
Well, that about does it for this handrail. I know it's a little bit more elaborate than maybe you'll tackle on your first job, but I hope you had a good time and join us next time for another Piece of the Woods.
For a copy of this episode or for questions and information, go to www.apieceofthewoods.com. Closed captioning for A Piece of the Woods was made possible by Shorter Log Home Supply, providing for the log builders for 20 years. Underwriting for A Piece of the Woods was brought to you by Tenonizer Technology, 25 years providing the log industry equipment and techniques to simplify perfection. Great Woods Cabinetry, providing custom cabinetry and more to the Twin Cities and now everywhere, from online to on-site. From Minnesota, an online resource for log enthusiasts. And Quality Manufacturing, building quality portable sawmills is in their reputation.